Welcome back. You are listening to the home of forbidden romances. Prepare yourself, because tonight's story will leave you breathless. The crystal tumbler shattered against the mahogany wall, sending shards of expensive amber whiskey raining down onto the pristine carpet, but the man sitting behind the massive ebony desk didn't even blink. I stood there, my chest heaving, my hands still trembling from the force of the throw, staring at the monster in the Italian suit who had once been the only person I trusted in this godforsaken world. Outside, the rain lashed against the floor-to-ceiling windows of the penthouse, turning the skyline of Neo-Seoul into a blur of neon and gray, mirroring the chaos inside my own mind. I had driven 3 hours at breakneck speed, risking my life on the slick highway, fueled by a poisonous cocktail of betrayal and a terrifying, possessive jealousy I had spent 5 years trying to bury. "Are you finished, Julian?" Adrian asked, his voice low and smooth, like velvet wrapped around a jagged blade. He turned a page of the document in front of him, not even deigning to look at me. "That was a 20-year-old single malt. A waste, even for you." "Don't you dare talk to me about waste," I snarled, stepping over the broken glass, my dress shoes crunching on the debris. "I want to see her, Adrian. Bring her out. Or are you hiding her, because you know I'll tell her exactly what kind of heartless machine she's about to marry?" Adrian finally looked up. His eyes, the color of frozen slate, locked onto mine. There was no warmth in them, only that terrifying, calculating intelligence that had made him the CEO of the Vane Consortium and the most feared man in the business world. But beneath the ice, something else flickered, a dark, hungry heat that I had seen only once before, the night I ran away. "You want to meet my partner?" Adrian asked, slowly standing up. He was taller than me, broader, his presence sucking the oxygen out of the room. He walked around the desk, closing the distance between us with the predatory grace of a panther stalking a wounded deer. "Be careful what you insist on, little brother. You might not like what you find." To understand why I was standing in a penthouse I swore never to return to, threatening a man I was terrified to love, you have to understand the Vane family. We weren't a family, we were a portfolio. Our father, the late patriarch, didn't believe in love. He believed in legacy. He adopted us both from different orphanages when we were 10, handpicked for our IQ scores and genetic potential. We weren't brothers by blood, but we were bound by something thicker, trauma. We were pitted against each other in a cruel Darwinian experiment to see who would inherit the empire. Adrian was the shield. I was the sword. He absorbed the punishments, the cold expectations, the brutal lessons in corporate warfare. I was the rebellious one, the artist, the one who broke the rules because I knew Adrian would clean up the mess. We were inseparable, a two-headed monster fighting for survival in a mansion made of gold and ice. But then, 5 years ago, the dynamic shifted. The air between us grew heavy, charged with a tension that wasn't familial. I would catch him watching me across the dinner table, his gaze lingering on my mouth. I would wake up from nightmares to find him sitting by my bed, just watching. It felt dangerous. It felt like gravity. So I ran. I relinquished my claim to the company, took a payout, and moved to the other side of the country to open a gallery. I thought I was free. Until this morning. The headline had screamed from every digital billboard and tablet. Asterisk CEO Adrian Vane announces engagement. Mystery partner to be revealed at private gala. Asterisk the world saw a business merger. I saw a betrayal. He had promised me, on the night our father died, that it was us against the world, that he didn't need anyone else. The thought of another person touching him, knowing him, standing by his side, it didn't just hurt. It felt like someone was carving my heart out with a dull spoon. "Where is she?" I demanded again, though my voice wavered as he stopped inches from me. The scent of him, sandalwood, rain, and cold power, assaulted my senses. "Is she in the bedroom? Is she smart? Does she know you have nightmares about the basement? Does she know you're incapable of loving anything that you can't control?" Adrian tilted his head, his expression unreadable. He reached out, his cool fingers grazing the line of my jaw. I should have pulled away. I should have slapped his hand. Instead, I froze, my breath hitching in my throat. "She is unique," Adrian murmured, his thumb tracing my lower lip. "She is the only person who has ever challenged me. The only person who knows the monster beneath the suit and hasn't looked away in disgust. She is stubborn, reckless, and infuriatingly beautiful when she's angry. My stomach twisted. Jealousy, hot and acidic, burned through my veins. He was talking about this woman with a reverence he had never shown anyone. She sounds perfect, I spat, jerking my head away from his touch. So why hide her? Why the secrecy? Because, Adrian said, stepping back and adjusting his cufflinks. She doesn't know she's the partner yet. It's a complicated arrangement. You're forcing her? I accused, narrowing my eyes. Is this a business deal? A debt repayment? Adrian let out a short, dry chuckle. In a way, a debt that has been accruing interest for a very long time. He checked his watch. The gala starts in an hour downstairs. She'll be there. If you insist on meeting her, Julian, you'll have to attend. Go wash your face. You look like a tragic poet who's lost his muse. I'm not going to your damn party, I said, turning toward the door. I'm leaving. The elevators are locked, Adrian said calmly. And your car has been valeted. You're staying. There's a tuxedo in the guest room. It's your size. I spun around, fury igniting again. You plan this. I plan everything, Julian. You know that. He sat back down at his desk and returned his attention to his papers, dismissing me. Get changed. The mystery partner is eager to meet you. The gala was a display of obscene wealth. The ballroom was filled with the city's elite, sharks in silk, vultures in velvet. Crystal chandeliers the size of small cars hung from the ceiling, casting a fractured light over the crowd. I moved through the room like a ghost, ignoring the whispers. Everyone knew Julian Vane, the runaway prince, the prodigal son. They looked at me with a mixture of pity and curiosity, wondering why I had returned to the lion's den. I wasn't drinking. I needed a clear head. I needed to see this woman, assess the threat, and then what? Beg Adrian to leave her? Beg him to take me back? The thought terrified me. Julian, a voice sneered. I turned to see Marcus Sterling, a rival CEO and a man who had been trying to buy out the Vane consortium for years. He held a flute of champagne, his smile oily. Didn't think we'd see you here, Marcus said, looking me up and down. Come to wish the happy couple well? Or are you here to beg for a jagged slice of the inheritance now that Big Brother is securing an heir? Get lost, Marcus, I muttered, scanning the crowd for Adrian. It's a brilliant move by him, Marcus continued, unbothered. Marrying into the Tanaka family? Or is it the Rothschilds? The rumors are wild. Whoever she is, she's going to make him untouchable. You'll be even more irrelevant than you are now. Irrelevant. The word stung. For 5 years, I had told myself I didn't care about the Vane Empire. But standing here, realizing that Adrian was building a future that didn't include me, I felt a desolation so vast it threatened to swallow me whole. Then, the music stopped. The lights dimmed, leaving a single spotlight on the grand staircase. The room went silent. Adrian appeared at the top of the stairs. He looked like a dark god, his tuxedo perfectly tailored, his expression imperious. He descended the stairs alone, his gaze sweeping over the crowd until it landed, with laser precision, on me. He walked to the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, his voice boomed through the speakers, deep and commanding. Thank you for joining me tonight. There has been much speculation regarding the future of the Vane Consortium, and specifically, regarding my personal life. My heart hammered against my ribs. Here it comes. For years, I have ruled this company alone, Adrian continued. But a king is nothing without a partner who challenges him, who grounds him, who understands the weight of the crown. He paused. The silence was deafening. I promised you a revelation tonight. I promised to introduce you to the person who holds my heart, and half my shares. He gestured toward the velvet curtain behind him. Please welcome the future of Vane. The curtain rose slowly. I held my breath, bracing myself to see a stunning heiress, a woman of grace and power. The curtain rose fully. The stage behind him was empty. A murmur of confusion rippled through the crowd. Someone laughed nervously. Adrian didn't look back at the empty stage. He kept his eyes locked on mine. Julian, he said. The sound of my name through the speakers was like a thunderclap. The entire room turned to look at me. Come here, Adrian commanded. My legs moved before my brain could process the request. I walked through the parting crowd, feeling like I was in a trance. I ascended the stairs, my heart pounding so hard I thought I might pass out. When I reached him, He cut the microphone. What is this? I hissed, panic rising in my throat. Where is she? You're humiliating yourself. There is no she, Julian, Adrian said, his voice low enough that only I could hear. There never was. I stared at him, my mind reeling. What? The news. The engagement. A fabrication, Adrian admitted without a shred of remorse. I leaked the rumor to a single news outlet. The one I know you have a subscription to. I bought the engagement ring you saw in the tabloids. I staged the paparazzi photos. Why? I breathed. Why would you do that? Because you stopped answering my calls, he said, his eyes darkening. Because you were forgetting me. I needed to know if you still cared. I needed to know if you would come running if you thought someone else was taking your place. You sociopath, I whispered, horror and relief warring in my chest. You manipulated the entire media, humiliated these people, just to test me. I would burn this entire city to the ground if it meant you would look at me, Adrian said in tense conviction. And now I have my answer. You drove 3 hours in a storm. You broke into my office. You were jealous, Julian. Tell me you weren't. I wanted to punch him. I wanted to kiss him. This is insanity. People will talk. They think you're announcing a partner. I am, Adrian said. He turned back to the crowd, grabbed my hand, and raised it high. There seems to be a misunderstanding, Adrian announced to the stunned room. I told you I found a partner. I never said it was a new one. My brother, Julian Vane, is returning to the consortium as co-CEO. The Vane empire has 2 heads again. The crowd erupted into confused, polite applause. They didn't understand the subtext. They didn't see the way Adrian's thumb dug into my palm, possessive and claiming. Smile, Adrian whispered. We have a boardroom to terrorize. An hour later, we were back in the penthouse. The gala was still raging downstairs, but Adrian had dragged me away the moment the obligatory toasts were done. He slammed the door shut and locked it. The silence of the penthouse was heavy, suffocating. You're insane, I said, tearing off my bow tie and throwing it on the couch. You can't just appoint me co-CEO. I have a life. I have a gallery. I bought the gallery, Adrian said casually, pouring himself another drink. I froze. You what? I bought the building 3 months ago. Your landlord works for me. Your biggest client? A shell company I control. You've been living in my world for a long time, Julian. You just didn't know it. Why? I shouted, advancing on him. Why can't you just let me go? Adrian set the glass down with a sharp clink. He turned to me, and the mask of the cool, collected CEO finally slipped. Beneath it was a man starving. Because I tried, he roared back, the sudden volume making me flinch. I tried to let you go, Julian. I gave you 5 years. I stayed away. I let you play artist. But every day you were gone, I felt like I was bleeding out. And then I realized, why should I suffer alone? He grabbed me by the lapels of my jacket and slammed me against the wall. The impact knocked the wind out of me. His face was inches from mine, his eyes wild. You think this is about business? You think this is about brotherhood? He laughed, a harsh, broken sound. We aren't brothers. We never were. That was just a word the old man used to keep us in line. I don't look at you like a brother. I have never looked at you like a brother. My breath hitched. This was it. The line we had danced around for a decade. The taboo that could destroy us both. Say it. I challenged him, my voice trembling. Say what you mean. I am in love with you, Adrian growled, the words tearing out of him. I am obsessed with you. I look at that empty chair across from me every morning, and I hate the world for taking you away. I invented a fictional woman just to make you jealous enough to come back, because I knew. I knew you felt it too. He pressed his forehead against mine. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me you didn't drive here to stop a wedding. Tell me you don't burn when I touch you. I looked into his eyes, the eyes of the only person who truly knew me. The only person who had been there in the dark. The brother title was a legal fiction, a piece of paper signed by a dead man. What we had was forged in survival. I hated you today, I whispered. Good, he murmured, his hands tightening on my jacket. I wanted to kill you when I thought you loved someone else. Even better. My resolve crumbled. The walls I had built around my heart turned to dust. I missed you, Adrian. God, I missed you so much it hurt to breathe. Adrian let out a shuddering breath, as if he had been holding it for 5 years. Then stopped running. He didn't wait for permission. He crashed his lips onto mine. It wasn't a gentle kiss. It was a collision. It was desperate, angry, and overwhelmingly hungry. It tasted of whiskey and repressed longing. His hands roamed over my body, reclaiming what he believed was his. I gripped his hair, pulling him closer, erasing the distance, erasing the time, erasing the lies. We stumbled toward the couch, tangled in a mess of limbs and fabric. He pushed me down into the leather, his weight a heavy, comforting blanket. "You're staying," he said against my neck, biting lightly at the sensitive skin there. It wasn't a question. It was a decree. "The board will revolt," I gasped, my head falling back. "The media will crucify us if they find out the truth." "Let them," Adrian said, pulling back to look at me. His lips were swollen, his eyes dark with desire. "I own the board. I own the media. And now, I have you. There is nothing else I need." "You're a tyrant," I breathed, reaching up to trace the sharp line of his cheekbone. "I'm a man who protects what is his," he corrected. He kissed my palm. "You insisted on meeting my partner, Julian. Well, you're looking at him. You are the only partner I will ever have. In business. In life. In this bed." A thought occurred to me then, a jagged piece of logic amidst the haze of passion. "Wait," I said, pushing him back slightly. "If you planned all this, did you plan for Marcus Sterling to insult me?" Adrian's eyes narrowed. "What did Sterling say?" "He called me irrelevant." The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Adrian sat up, adjusting his disheveled collar, the cold CO mask sliding back into place for a split second. "Sterling said that?" "Yes." Adrian reached for his phone on the coffee table. He tapped out a quick message. "What are you doing?" I asked. "Initiating the hostile takeover of Sterling Industries," Adrian said calmly, tossing the phone aside. "He'll be bankrupt by morning. Consider it an engagement gift." He turned back to me, the darkness in his eyes softening into something that looked dangerously like devotion. "Now," he said, looming over me once more. "Where were we?" I pulled him down by his tie. "You were about to show me exactly why I shouldn't run away again." "Oh, Julian," Adrian growled, capturing my lips. "I'm going to make sure you can't walk away even if you wanted to." Outside, the storm raged on, but inside, the chaos had finally settled. The viper had caught his prey, only to realize the prey had been hunting him all along. We were two broken halves of a dark whole, finally snapped back together. Forbidden? Maybe. Dangerous? Definitely. But as I looked at the man who would burn the world for me, I knew one thing for sure. I was home. And that is how the viper tamed the wolf, by letting himself be bitten. If you enjoyed seeing Adrian's calculated madness unravel into obsession, destroy that like button. And tell me in the comments, is manipulation ever acceptable if it's the only way to save a relationship, or should Julian have run the moment he found out the truth? I'll be reading your answers. Subscribe for the next chapter. Until then.